Carney. So when did you start following wrestling?
Well, I would say that I probably started following wrestling around 85, 86. I was a young child. Of course, I was back then. But I was in Atlanta, Georgia, where I live. I live in the suburbs in Ackworth. But in Atlanta, we had Channel 40, Channel 36 WATL, and later WVEU 69. They had something called Superstars of Wrestling. Joe Pedicino, actually, who later got into wrestling and did a lot of the hosting. He was one of the hosts along with Bonnie Blackstone, and they would have, she came later, but they would have 8 hours of wrestling every single night, or every single Saturday night, I should say. And that was on top of what you'd be getting from TBS, which would be, the World Championship Wrestling, the NWA being broadcast. So you could sit down there and get 10 hours of wrestling, not counting whatever else might be on at that time. I didn't watch a ton of it. I never did even watch a lot of the stuff on TBS till later. But they had Bill Watts UWF. It was the Mid South Wrestling, the days of DiBiase, Duggan, and Doc. Dr. Death, later the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase, and Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I liked it. It came on early in the night. I wouldn't fall asleep because I'm a kid. They had that. I was a big fan of that because I was just enjoying myself. And Cowboy Bill Watts ran it. He was doing the American, he's a big 300-pound guy. He's a promoter and everything. And one of the heels, Eddie Gilbert, was he was managing a guy named Cortisha Chernyenko. Well, what happened was after he beat him, he put the Russian flag over. Now, keep in mind, we're in the Reagan years, and he's putting the Russian flag over his opponents, and Watts is on commentary. The Cowboy, hey, they shouldn't be doing it. I'm going to put a stop to some of this. And then later, there is a kerfluffle, small ice, whatever have you. And Watts actually throws some blows on Gilbert and stuff like that. He's like, you're not putting that flag over anybody anymore. Well, the next week, Eddie Gilbert comes out. He's managing, like I said, Chernyenko. He's managing a team called the Blade Runners, who later became Sting and the Ultimate Warrior. Well, he comes out there, said, hey, I want to get Bill Watts out here now. I want to talk to Cowboy Bill Watts. Watts doesn't come. Later in the show, same thing. I want to talk to, he didn't come. Finally, he said, hey, I want to talk to Cowboy. He then says, listen, you've made me see the light. And Ivan and Nikita Koloff were also in for this taping, for the show. And you knew that in the back of your head. They've been talking about it. Well, he comes out there, hey, you've made me see the light, Cowboy Bill Watts. I shouldn't have done it. I associate with these Russians for money. And that's all it was. Just money is what I associate with these guys with. And I'm going to disavow myself. I'm going to disinvolve myself with the Russians. We're not going to have anything to do with them anymore. You can have the flag. It's, I was very stupid and you're great. And then Watt says, let's burn it. About this time, Nikita Koloff, Ivan Koloff run down the ringside. They jump the Cowboy. All of a sudden, nice guy, hot stuff Eddie Gilbert is, somehow pulls out a shovel like a little trowel, a garden trowel, and starts hitting Cowboy Bill Watts in the head with it. And then the funny thing is that, people are trying to come down there. Well, his team, the Blade Runners, was already out there because he said he wasn't turning good. He was managing the Blade Runners still. So they're fighting off anybody who's in there. Cortisha Chernyenko, Ivan Koloff, Nikita Koloff, Gilbert are all beating up on the big Cowboy. And afterwards, they put the flag over the big Cowboy. And Jim Ross was the announcer. He said, look at that, look at that. They put the Russian flag over the Cowboy. And as a young kid, probably about 11 or 12, I'm like, that's the setup. That's the setup. That was Holaroo's. I can't believe they did it. And I was hooked to a very dangerous drug that thankfully doesn't do anything but make me a wrestling fan at the time. So I was hooked, and then I had to keep on watching, the other stuff from Alabama, Continental is what it was called, Memphis, the CWA, AWA. I just absorbed it. Plus, I mean, I was a nerd in school. Like I was getting a whole lot of dates at the time. Give me a break. I couldn't get lucky with a fistful of 50s, man. What are you talking about? Ain't no girls wanting to date the wrestling fan. Plus, I was a little geeky nerd. But that's okay. I had planned doing Saturday night because I could watch wrestling all night long. And it was like, you do a certain extent, superheroes, good guys, bad guys. I was like a vacuum. I just sucked every bit of it up and been a fan ever since.
We started watching about the same time. I was about 85, 86. My first feud I remember was Dusty Rhodes against Tully Blanchard, and basically Dusty fought all the four horsemen.
Absolutely.
But
Phenomenal stuff.
And if I think of like all of the greatest feuds that I've ever seen, that might have been one of the greatest ones.
It was incredible because a lot of times what you remember, I mean, let's face it, our minds delve back to where the good old days are what we remember.
Right.
But the Tully Blanchard, Dusty Rhodes feud was great. In Memphis, the Bill Dundee, Jerry Lawler feud was fantastic. The stuff I really enjoy is seeing superstar Bill Dundee and Jerry Lawler. And when Dundee wasn't there, it was Bam Bam Bigelow for a minute. But Lawler and either Bigelow or Dundee against Austin Idol and Tommy Wildfire Rich, managed by Paul Heyman, who was Paulie Dangerously. That was tremendous stuff. They set up a match at the Mid-South Coliseum where they were going to either Idol won the Southern Belt and Lawler got his head shaved, but Idol said he deposited $50,000 of cash money in escrow to refund the ticket price of every single fan. Didn't be said, save your ticket stub, you'll get it all back at the end. And I could not figure out how this was going to go because I couldn't see Idol getting his head shaved because he had the long blonde hair and the locks. I couldn't definitely see Jerry Lawler getting his head shaved because if he won, everybody gets their money back. I got to see this stuff. It was a cage match. During the match, Tommy Wildfire Rich, who had been out of town, I think in Japan, jumps up there. They beat up Lawler inside the cage. He wins the match, and Lawler gets his head shaved. Almost a riot at the Coliseum. I'm like, oh, this is tremendous stuff. I was really enjoying that. Got a chance to talk to Idol and Rich later and Lawler, and even Dundee when I met him later. It was just tremendous stuff. I was just such a fan of seeing it because I mean, back then, you had a start, a middle, and a conclusion. It's like a book, you got to start, you got a, rising action, you get your climax, you get the falling action, you get the end. And a lot of times the protagonist is going to overcome the antagonist. It's good stuff. I mean,
yeah,
that's what I like. I mean, everything you can trace back, whether it's, Bugs Bunny against Wile E. Coyote or Elmer Fudd or Darth Vader against, Luke Skywalker. You got good versus evil. It's a story that can be easily understood by just about anybody, and a great one. And now I don't see as much of that, but man, I sure did enjoy seeing it when I saw it. That was some good stuff. You knew Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream, was the good guy, and Tully Blanchard with J.J. Dillon and the Horsemen were the bad guy. And it was tremendous stuff, man. That was great stuff.
And
incredible.
And I mean the whole basis for this whole discussion is is it real, is it fake, or something like that. As a fan, when we see something like, I mean, pro wrestling is at its best when you see 2 or 4 or whatever people fight each other and you think, wow, they really hate each other, they really want to beat the crap out of each other, then it doesn't matter what's predetermined or whatever. It's like, but I'm watching, this looks like a real fight.
People will break their necks to see a fight, whether it's 2 little guys, 2 big guys, whatever. Wrestling, is it real or fake? Well, it's never fake. The injuries are very real. People pay a Faustian bargain where they are famous for a lot of what they do. But I mean, you got to look at it. Let's look at it realistically. You're falling off the top rope, taking these Hurricane Ranas, body slams, etc. It's like having a mini car crash every night or on the weekends if you're up and coming guy or an independent guy. Incredible stuff. And that penalty they do pay. I mean, if you watch Beyond the Mat, you see what Terry Funk had to go through. You see what Mick Foley, Cactus Jack had to go through, Mankind. Um, it's definitely something that's there. There's a lot of premature deaths that have happened in wrestling, and
It's
it's
so
very
sad.
sad to see. But you do pay a price for it. But do they get fame? Yeah. Do they make money? Sure. Do they know what they're getting into? Absolutely. You can't help but know it. But you know, I think that it's a good thing that WWE, they say their wellness program is just for PR, but at the same time, even though it may appear, if it saves a life, great. And at least hopefully they're not promoting things that would cause people to do that. Like, you know, if you're work, if you're having to wrestle all the time and never get a break, that can be a little much. I mean, they need to look out for some of that stuff. And I'm glad to see things have gotten better in the last few years. But for a while there, we had a ton of wrestlers who were passing away way too early. That's where the video clip and a lot of that came from, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I mean the schedule that those wrestlers had in the 70s, 80s, 90s,
Oh
whatever,
man,
fighting 300 days a year, easy. That's a light schedule. And that you hear that phrase, and twice on Sunday. They would do two shows on
yeah,
Sunday. It's Sunday afternoon and then it's Sunday evening. It's like, how can the body take that? And it
it
is
is
so
very
sad.
dead. That's why a lot of people were self-medicating themselves with all kind of stuff: marijuana, drugs, alcohol, zomas. That's a lot of the pain pills and the muscle relaxers is what was really contributing. A lot of people passed away way too early when back in the 80s and 90s and 2000. So well, the eight wrestlers of the 80s passed away like in the 2000s and all. And that's one thing I'm glad that this kind of got away from. Hopefully, it will continue. But at the same time, you look at some of these guys up there who are doing some of this stuff that no one ever thought about. I mean, Harley Race would go off the top rope with the headbutt. I seen him, and he went a ton. I seen him pushed in the Spartanburg Coliseum with in a wheelchair when I did the clip that made me famous, more or less, or infamous, depending on your state of where you're looking at your perspective. But and he didn't do half of what these guys did. I mean, he was very tough, but you got to wonder, some of these guys who were jumping off tables and ladders and doing all this stuff. It's brutal, man. I just hope they don't, pay for it down the line, and I hope that hopefully promotions can do a better job of making sure people get appropriate rest. If they're injured, get treatment. I mean, it's like playing football. You're going to get some kind of injury, you're going to get some kind of hurt, but at least hopefully that can be you can't get rid of it, you can't bypass it, but maybe you can try to hopefully have a better quality of life down the line.
Yeah, and I mean, just doing it less, letting the body recover a little
Yeah.
bit, maybe that'll help. And I mean, they're definitely working a lot less now, and especially with the pandemic, they were hardly
Yeah.
working. Also, that's good. But that leads us to what you are infamous for. So you were at was it like a wrestling convention?
It was a question and answer session. Tony Hunter, promoter, had held a event called the Tribute to Starcade. They were going to have a fan fest and a question and answer session in the afternoon, and then after the afternoon, they're going to have wrestling later that night. Well, I was all excited because my favorite wrestler of all time was going to be there, the Barbarian. Yeah, people are like, huh? Yes, the Barbarian. I don't care. He could be my favorite. He was my favorite when I was a kid. I like him, Eddie Gilbert, Buzzsaw, and a bunch of others. But I love the Barbarian. Got to meet him many times. One of the nicest guys in the world. But I was all excited to go meet Barbarian. So I called my buddy Craig, who lived in Athens, Georgia. So I went up to Spartanburg. Hey, why not? It'll be a fun thing. Bought some tickets, got in there, enjoyed it. Got to meet Bill Apter, who I saw. I mean, shoot, man, with all the pro wrestling illustrateds I got, I'm like, you took a lot of my money. He said, no. He said, the editor took a lot of your money. I'm like, well, whatever. You had something to do with it. But Bill was cool. I got to sit down and talk to Tom Pritchard. Ironically, that was a week when a guy, I don't want to bury the guy or anything or bring him anything bad, but there's a guy who was in WWE who was taken off the road because rumor was he was pilled up over at Europe or something like that. And I was thinking about a lot of that stuff too, because that was the week Eddie Guerrero passed away. And Eddie Guerrero was, I mean, he's a hell of a baby face, a guy you really want to cheer for. He's a smaller guy. You want to see him be successful. You want to see him just succeed. And I was a huge fan. I thought he had a great character. I love the way he wrestled, and he had just passed away. They did the Raw tribute show, and a lot of people were crying then. So that's in the back of my mind. And when I saw Harley Race being wheeled in there in a wheelchair, I'm like, good God, this guy fought to no end, man. He was fantastic. And now he's, in a wheelchair, man. I hate that. And I saw Mick Foley, who, yeah, I mean, he lost an ear for this. I mean, he took the hell in the cell, and I'm sure he hurts every day. I mean, you can walk beyond the mat. But Foley, I've met him many times. He's a great guy. He used to mow his grass years ago, as a matter of fact. He wasn't far from me in Ackworth at the time. Great dude. My brother and I went over there and did it. I met him at a sideline sports bar, and it was a UFC pay per view with Dan Severn against Ken Shamrock. I wore my ECW shirt. He turned to ECW, like, oh shit, it's Jack, it's Jack. All right, So that's a sidebar, but he was there, and I got to see a Jerry Lawler, who I'd really been a fan of. I got to see Jim Cornette, in the Midnight Express. Rest in peace, beautiful Bobby, one of the nicest guys in the world. I think the world of Bobby, and Dennis and Stan. They're all great guys. I know. I know Dennis a little bit better than Stan, but everybody involved. Great group of guys. And I got to see a lot of other guys. I got to talk to Tom Pritchard about Dr. Tom about addiction and stuff like that. Because that was one of the things. And as I'm walking around, I'm thinking all this stuff, and I got this mishmash in my head, and I'm thinking, and listen to the question and answer, and I'm thinking, man, all these guys are paying a hell of a bargain for this. There's all these deaths in wrestling, man. And then they say, who would you like to have another match with? And Midnight Express and Cornette gave their answer, and Funk said, I'd like to have one more match with Eddie Guerrero. And everybody starts thinking about Monday night. Right. And Funk brought up a great point when he said, if you look at any town the size of here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, you'll find every town this size has a crack house. If you went back in time and traced the amount of deaths at that crack house for the last 5 years, you'll see wrestling has way more deaths than that. And, we need to clean our act up. Even if it's us veterans need to withhold our love from some of the people who aren't cleaning themselves up. We need to do that, because this is a problem right here. And Funk was talking about that. And then I'm thinking back too about how Foley had talked about, I just feel that, these guys have given to my entertainment. Yeah, I get it. They got paid, etc. But I'm like, I really do appreciate their sacrifice. This is stuff they got to deal for their grandchildren and their wives and great grandchildren if they're able to be blessed with something. I just want to thank them. And I'm thinking too about how, Mick Foley had given an ECW interview where he said, because Dynamite Kid, he came with money in his pocket, left with the same amount after main event and all these shows all over the place. And he said, in one of his interviews, he said, how many of you have called up the Dynamite Kid and thanked him? Thanks for all the bumps on the concrete and all the bumps on the floor. Too bad, because he was homeless at the time. Too bad you don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. I'm thinking, I'm going to thank these guys. And then it came time. The guy holding the microphone's name was Jeff. People thought my name was Jeff. No, it's Dave. But they said, Jeff, where you at? And I go, yeah, I want to thank you for what you did to your bodies. Thank you for saying what needed to be said, Mr. Funk. I don't want to see another one of these deaths in wrestling. The idea was good. The execution may have been less than stellar in some people's mind, because instead of thank you for saying what needed to be said, I don't want to see another one of these deaths. Thank you for your sacrifice. Like, thank you for what you did here, boy.
Right.
And then I had the Tourette's moment where I go, I'm thinking back to when I was a kid purchasing wrestling magazines at the Time Saver gas station in Ackworth, Georgia, across from our only car dealership, Days Chevrolet. And out of the blue, I just hopped up because I told Craig earlier, I met the Barbarian. I met Drill. This is real, man. It'll never be fake. It's still running me, damn it. And I regained my composure, and I was magnificent for the rest of the time. But son of a gun, if that didn't go viral, I was later on a tape trading message board. And I was talking to someone whose screen name was Ace in the Hole. And they said, it's still to be damn it. I'm like, hell, man, that's a great line. I've used that before. They go, have you seen the clip? The clip, clip. Oh, damn it. I went viral. How this happened? You know? So, yeah. So I wound up going viral over that. And it was played on Jimmy Kimmel, and I've been interviewed by a lot of folks. I got Ramon by Opie and Anthony, and we got to talk to Ron and Fez, and was on Web Junk on VH1 and Tosh.0. People say that's the power of the internet. I'm like, nope, it's the power of television. I had a little bit of notoriety before, but once Tosh.0 did, then I have some. Do I get recognized everywhere I go? Absolutely not. But is there a weird time when I'm in Chili's and it says, "Hey, Dave, hey, I saw you on Tosh.0." I'm like, this is weird. Or I was in Cartersville, Georgia, not about 10 miles from the house, and, you know, and one guy said, "I've seen you on Tosh.0." I'm thinking, y'all got more than rabbit ears up here in Cartersville?
You-
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Maybe he had rabbit ears hooked to his head. I don't know. But he was a great. But I mean, everybody's been nice. And one thing that they mentioned related to Bobby Eaton is he had told somebody, I think to Brian Thompson, that it doesn't cost you anything to be nice. So if I get recognized, I try to be nice and treat people. A lot of people want to talk wrestling. That's great. If I have time, I'm all about it. But I mean, what does it enable me to do? Well, I got invited. Hey, I got to eat enchiladas with Sergeant Slaughter, Coco Beware, and Ted DiBiase when we were filming Tosh.0. Got to meet Daniel Tosh. I got to announce a match. I was booked at a show where I got to announce a match in Lenore, North Carolina, involving Dusty Rhodes against Jerry the King Lawler. And Lawler cut a promo on me, and I'm there trying to hold my head like I'm crying, but I'm smiling like a kid, like in the candy store. I'm like, these are two of the greatest professional wrestlers of my time, of any time, and I'm in the ring with them. Dang. And then I got to announce a little something with the Midnight Express and the Powers of Pain, or I was supposed to. I think they backed that out or something. I can't remember offhand, but it was just incredible to be able to do some of that stuff. I guess you could say I've got to be able to spend time with Barbarian, one of my heroes as a buddy. I mean, we're not at each other's house, but we're very friendly. And it's real weird when a wrestler will ask, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" I'm like, "You're
wow.
whoever." You're a guy I've grown up seeing. Yeah, but I seen you on Jimmy Kimmel. I seen you on Tosh.0. And I'm thinking that's kind of cool. I mean, it's just great at the fan festival. Dave, I feel the same way you do. Let me buy you something to drink. Hey,
All right.
I'll take a Diet Coke and maybe a little something else. You never can tell.
How long did that Tosh.0 thing take to film all that?
I flew in let's see here. I flew in that day. I slept in a motel that night. Well, I was supposed to sleep in a motel. Guy handed me 250s. He said, "This is your per diem." I said, "Wait a minute. Why do I get per diem? Y'all are taking care of everything, aren't you?" "I got to give you some money, dude." I'm like, cool. So I took that per diem. I talked to where was it at? I talked to the Radisson, and I used their shuttle service, and they took me to Fox Rent a Car, and I rented me a car all night long, driving all throughout Los Angeles. So
Nice.
I'm filming that son of a gun with about 2 or 3 hours of sleep and everything like that. Because I'm up there, looking at Hollywood and Burbank and just checking stuff out. I'm like, I don't know when I'll be back, but I'm gonna make the night count. I can sleep later. But it was cool. The next morning they came, picked me up. I had some breakfast. Next morning he came, picked me up. We went over there. We were done filming. They were going to drop me off like 4 or 5 hours before my flight at the airport. And like I said, we filmed. It didn't take very long. Tosh was, having inspiration. We people hold up a phone, play the Ultimate Warrior when he's talking about the Ultimate Warrior. What was funny too is I actually got toned down a little bit. That I was up there cracking jokes. Like, okay, we get it. You're funny as hell. Okay, dude. we get it. Okay. Here's the Tosh.0 gimmick. Okay. The people who are in web redemptions, me, anybody else, these are ordinary people in an extraordinary situation. Daniel's the nut. Everybody else is normal. Okay, I get it. So we had fun. The thing they didn't know is that I had the script and of what they were, some of the questions. So I was already trying to figure out, well, what am I going to answer this? A lot of it was just on the fly too. I had no idea I was putting the figure 4 on until I got it. You know how to do it? Yes. Can you do it? Yeah, sure I can. So that was kind of cool, and Sergeant Slaughter was there. I'm like, dude, G.I. Joe got me
G.I.
to go
Joe,
in the
my
clutch.
goodness.
This is freaking G.I. Joe. I saw him after Transformers every afternoon, so that was a cool thing. But I seen DiBiase on the flight over, and I wasn't, I'm like, wonder if he's coming over here. And then I think, no, you're being an arrogant fool, Dave. Of course not. He's coming over here for some religious conference. Some son of a gun. I walk in there. There he is. There's Coco spray painting his hair. He said, we got some special guests you may or may not know of. I'm like, dude, it's Sergeant Slaughter. It's this
So neat.
DiBiase. So now they did put them up, I think, at the Grand Hyatt downtown. I got the Radisson. Hell, I didn't.
Wow.
I was glad to do it. What was funny was after that, I'll go ahead and let the cat in the bag. Somehow I was able to talk Delta into changing my flight from a nonstop back to Atlanta into a flight, a different flight where I had an hour layover in Vegas. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I'm like, I don't know when I'm getting out west again. I better go up here and take advantage of this.
There you go.
So I spun the slot machine. I rented a taxi, paid way too much, and I got me an In-N-Out burger. And that's been another addiction I'm having to deal with because those were just wonderful. I had one in Texas the other week when I was down there with my shoot job, doing my work as a project manager. But it was just a tremendous opportunity. I'm very blessed. I've been able to meet so many wrestlers, so many great fans. What's really weird is I had no idea. So many people from have messaged me from England, from the UK, from all over. Hey, I know how you feel. I had no idea I was speaking for so many, and I had no idea where that came from. I guess it came from deep in my soul or something. It was just amazing. It was just amazing to be able to have the moment. Uh, then later, when I fessed up, yeah, it was me. They're like, "Prove it." People are like, "I don't believe it." I'm like, "Dude, I don't think there's a
Look at
lot of
me.
people waiting in line to claim they're Dave. Come on, well, you got to prove. Yeah, I look like me. What the hell you think?" So,
when you
you
when
know,
you texted me, and I was like, wait, is that him?
yes, me.
And it's like that's him.
Oh,
And then
people
I thought,
freak out on YouTube.
and then I thought,
I go on YouTube and post stuff back and forth. People like, I was talking bad about you. Hey, I get it. I get it. Okay. People look at the video
yeah.
where
And then I
said,
thought, who's going to imitate him? Who's going to
well,
imitate
here's the
him?
thing. People look at the video and say, it's still real to me, damn it. Okay, I get it. Taken out of context. I'm some guy from the southeastern United States who hadn't figured out that wrestling's predetermined, like a Marvel movie or like Dallas. People say, was wrestling fake?
Thank you.
No, wrestling is not fake. The injuries are real, but is it predetermined? Is it real? It's as real as the Marvel movie you're going to go see.
Thank you.
It's as real as
Why
it's
is
as real as
nobody saying, "Hey, I don't think that Iron Man is really doing that stuff"? But yet you always hear like, wrestling's fake. Like, why?
it's as
Why?
real as it's as real as a soap opera.
Yeah,
It's as real
exactly.
as your best as the book you love the most, your favorite
Just
book.
let us enjoy it.
It's as real as your imagination.
Yeah,
And like I tell people, when wrestling is done good, wrestling can be a hybrid entertainment where you can stand up, you can cheer, you can boo, you can be very happy, you can be sad, you can be angry, you can be upset. You know, you can want to help the guy, you can feel empathy. Hybrid. It's like going to a place and you see a Broadway play. Okay, it may be a stretch, but it's like seeing that and combat and combat sports and stunt men and acrobats and stuff like that, and you get that all for the price of one ticket. When done right, wrestling can be tremendous, and there ain't a whole lot better because you can get into the story and you can feel and side with whoever the good guy is or the bad guy, the baby face, the heel. You can get into that and lose yourself for a couple of hours, and that is just tremendous to be able to do. I mean, I've told somebody before. I said if someone comes up there, yeah, but I'll come back to that. But when it's good, there's not a lot better. When it's done bad or poorly, it's not a whole lot worse. It makes me want to cry. But I mean, the weird thing is that you never know. Some guys are going to some of the wrestling. Hey, he may have had a bad week at work. He lost his job. He may have some problems with the wife. He gets to escape for just a few minutes. And that right there is pretty important. Sometimes just getting yourself out of the situation and out of the feeling of just everything on the world wait on you, you get a new perspective. You think differently. You say, man, I could do this. It can help you out. It can help your mental aspect. People say, well, people pick on you and make fun of you all the time. How do you feel about that, Dave? And I'm like, here's the deal. I'm 47 years old. Okay. I have good friends. I have a good support team. My mom and dad are fine. My brother and I get along. I got a great job. My bosses and my client get along with me. We have a great relationship. I'm not going to let the opinions of trolls and strangers mock me. Mocking me tell me how important my life is. I was a nerd. I was picked on in middle school and high school because I'm the little fat, chubby kid with the glasses and, likes wrestling and can't get a date. Yeah, it's old hat. I've had that happen to me a million times. But my perspective now is with all the cyber bullying and people, being, all this other stuff on the web and people just being so cruel to people, it really is telling because I'm thinking if they're picking at me, maybe they're leaving somebody else alone who maybe not can handle it. I mean, I get that it can be funny out of context. In context, it's interesting. Weird thing is, at first, I'm like, I'm not going to try to make a dime because on any of this because I mean, it was the death of a wrestler. It's even eclipsed that. Now people are like, oh, I love the meme. Hey, I love you. I'm like, what the hell? How'd this happen? But picture yourself like this. And when it came to wrestling, and I'm not, I mean, believe me, I'm self deprecating and I'm fully aware that not everybody knows who I am or anything like that. But for just a few minutes in life, the most unhip person ever, me, became hip. They're playing it on Howard Stern. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? This is fantastic. you know.
Well, that's
I'll
a
give
great
you.
perspective. That's a great way to take it. I'm learning to do that. I mean, I whenever I have done videos or put my picture out there, I get like, oh, you're fat, you're ugly. It's like, and it hurts. It
Yeah.
bothers me. It's like I gotta stop with this. I gotta stop. But it's like, you know what?
But I mean, you know what? A lot of people want to bring down what they can't have. People are jealous animals. They don't want people say, well, I want somebody to have success. A lot of people don't. They want to keep you as held back, just like them. Misery loves company. I mean, hey, a lot of guys who are divorced, who are married, be like, Dave, don't you want to get married? After I got my divorce, I'm like, why? You're miserable. That was my take at that point. I mean, give me a break. People just go out there, and some people are genuine, some people aren't. But I want to see everybody do well and do great and all. And I mean, when you get right down to it, what the hell are you going to do? I mean, you can either suck it up and get over it, or either you can, do your best and just try to keep it going. I mean, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to change your appearance. Hey, I don't go around a lot of mirrors. I never have as a rule when I was a kid or now, because I'm thinking if I look in the mirror, okay, I can look in there. Yeah, you're 5'8", you're fat, keto friendly now. Thank you very much. I'm back
Hey,
on
all
that
right.
for a while. Hey, I went from 288 down to 212 a while back, and I still got a lot more. I got about half of that I got to get rid of.
Oh, you look
But
great.
I appreciate that. But you know, I can look at there. Yeah, I'm chubby and this and that. I'm not never going to be tall. I can look at that and see what holds you down. But I think about you know if I was Dusty Rhodes. Well, you may not have much, but whatever you got, be funky like a monkey and use what you got to your advantage, baby.
That's right.
So why not, man?
It's why he was my hero. It's like, I'm never going to look like Lex Luger. I'm
No,
never going to look like the Barbarian. But if that guy can do it, if Dusty can do it, hey, maybe I can too.
and you know what? That's another thing about wrestling that I miss. You used to have characters that were interchangeable. Nobody's going to mistake Nature Boy Buddy Landell for Dusty Rhodes, for Abdul the Butcher, for Bruiser Brody, for King Kong Bundy, or for Hulk Hogan. It's not going to happen. You had a wild mixture, just like the circuses in town.
Right.
You had all these wild characters, and I mean, a lot of it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I've heard stories. And it was one of the things that's the underground economy made so much money. No one realized how much it was till later. How selling out this stuff and people were paying every week to go to it, and it has changed. But I mean, what can you do, man? It's just unbelievable to see where it is. I'd like to see it hopefully come back. I like the new wrestling. I'm not going to poo poo it. One of my buddies, Jonathan Gresham's on Ring of Honor, and he's just tremendous.
He's great.
Whenever I actually was at WWA for my buddy is Mr. Hughes, Curtis Hughes, and I shouldn't say that because he'll be, hey, you always talk bad about me. No, I'm talking good about you.
Oh, God,
But
I
Curtis,
remember him. He was awesome.
well, Hughes and I had worked another show, and then later I bumped into him again. He said, "Why don't you come down to the school, help my guys? I need a guy to work me on the stick. Pretty much, you can cough and drink water and stuff like that while he's announcing the matches." So I did the history, the commentary, and I called so many matches with stars that later Baron Black, who's in AEW, um, Nation, who's now Apollo Cruz, he was there. AR Fox. I mean, there's just a ton of folks who were there, and John Gresham. And I thought years ago, and I told him this. I thought that one of the biggest crying shames is he was so damn talented, but he's not the tallest wrestler in the world. And I thought he's never going to get a chance to show what he's got because of the way how things were promoted at the time. Everybody had to
Right.
be 6'1", 6'2", whatever. And to see what he's done in Ring of Honor, to see how he's honed his craft, to see how he's been very successful, to see how people love to watch his man, I enjoy it so much. And I'm just glad to know the guy, and I'm glad he's a friend. I can actually
Yeah.
call him a friend. He's a great dude, and I mean that not only is he a great wrestler, he's a great dude in real life too. And every now and then Curtis is, but no, I'm not married to Curtis, even though I should, but I won't.
So there was when CM Punk came back for
Yeah,
AEW a
buddy.
couple of Fridays ago. There was in the crowd, they showed a kid that was crying, and it was kind of similar to what you went through. There was a debate. It's like, oh, how could somebody be crying over wrestling?
It's
What's
real.
wrong with him? And other people were like, my God, look at this kid. He's passionate. He's so invested.
I, I
Hey,
didn't
good for
see a ton
him.
of negative, and I'll be honest, I got into the fun myself because I'm like, hey man, he's stealing my stuff, man. He's stealing my shiznit. Come on now, give me a break here. I'm the original guy, and I'm like, good God. And then it got even worse. I'm like, good God, Tommy Dreamer's going to fly him to damn Bound for Glory, put him on an airplane and give him tickets. What? Some company's going to give him some shoes for $1,000? Hell, I'll take $100 pair. Hell, send me some money for what I bought on Amazon the other week. That's fine with me. I'm like, good God, what are we going to do next? Build a temple and bring him fruit? I mean, come on, dude. Give a sacrifice to him. Everybody, these are the reaction. Again, power of television. Everybody forgot about Dave, just like everybody forgot about Dre. All right, come on, I mean, they just, hey, whatever. But I wasn't. I understood where he came from. While I don't think I'd be as emotional in that circumstance, I don't know. I could have shed some tears when I met the Barbarian. I probably did. That's probably got me emotional to begin with because I was just so happy. There probably was a few tears shed.
I can think of many times where I've cried because of wrestling. So yeah,
Yeah. Well,
it's
when
totally.
Flair was retired, whenever Owen Hart passed, I mean, a lot of people said I was crying too. You can do that, but I mean, I didn't sense a lot of the negative feedback. The people, I'm going to send him something. I'm going to send him a care package or something. I'm like, "Oh, hello, I'm the OG. Come on now, with Dave. So I was up there. But here's the telling thing about that too. I don't know who he is. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but not everybody wants to be in public. Not everybody's going to come out and say yes, man. And according to what I understand, what I've read, he wished to remain anonymous, and he's getting a meet and greet and shoes and Bound for Glory tickets, and they're probably going to, give him a medal and a belt, and he'll probably get a Kia and a Ford and a moped and every other, $50,000 in the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes. What I didn't know, I'm not bitter, but I'm like, good Lord, everybody's, he could bend over and people be, bumping their nose into his tail. Come on, but and that's what I was saying publicly. But I get the guy. The world is not the internet cannot be a nice place. You got people who have total anonymity, who are just trolls, and then they're a-holes, and they're gonna go up there and say a lot of stuff because they look at you as just like Bugs Bunny, like the character, like a character on television. We are people who live in the internet, my friend. We don't have real life, Joe. You're Joey Bag of Donuts. I'd be crying wrestling fan. We're always, people don't see any of this stuff. They don't realize we have families, we have mortgages, we have other things to look at like football and hockey. Love your collection, by the way. I mean, a lot of stuff people don't see and they don't think about, man, hey, but and a lot of people, unfortunately, with a lot of the cyberbullying crap going on, they can't take it. They decide to end it. And
Yeah, it's
I
scary.
hate it. But I mean, when you're in high school and you or whatever, you were mocked, made fun of, outed, whether it's sexual orientation or whatever, dude, you don't see life when you're 47. You don't see life when you're 50, when you're 30. You see life exists just till the end of the school year, till the end
Right.
of the year. And they're
And
like,
you think it's over.
I don't want to be in this place anymore. And
Yep.
I hate the hell out of that. That's why, like I said, that's why I'll take it in stride. I'm like, if someone wants to be a troll and laugh at someone, laugh at me. I'm not going to worry about it. I ain't going to lose any sleep. I got plenty of pillows on my bed. When I hit my head on the pillow, I'm going to sleep just fine. Look at that.
All right, sir.
If you
Hey,
don't let something have power over you, it's not going to have power.
there
Just
you
try
go.
the best you can.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, sir. I gotta go. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. It was great meeting you. Thank you for the time. This was truly an honor.
My pleasure. And if anybody wants to follow me, I'm on Twitter at at Still Real Dave, at Still Real Dave. I got a website, davewillswrestling.com, and it's stillrealtome.com. So feel free, hit me up, whatever. If I have time, I'll answer. If not, I'll get back to you. I'm working on it. I just may have
Awesome.
to do something in real life. I don't live in your computer. Boo!
All right. So hey,
Thank you for
thanks
the
so
time, Joe. I
much.
really do appreciate it. It was a
All
pleasure.
right. Hey, I'll see you.